Okay, next thing we're going to do is move over back to our 4 view. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these points here, and I'm going to hit Control V. And what I want to do is make sure that all these points are at the 0 point on my x-axis. So I'm going to hit OK on that. Very good. Next thing we're going to do is draw out some legs. So let's move over here into our back viewport. I'm going to hit my Skeleton tool, and starting from the pelvis, I'm going to draw out a bone here. I'm going to place that right about, well, let's say right about there. Okay, move over to my right viewport, and I'm going to put a bone here, here, and we'll go ahead and draw out the foot as well. Okay, next thing we're going to do is move over to, let me go over here into our perspective view, and I want to make sure that these points are welded together, which they are now. And I'm going to go ahead, and the reason I did this is usually when I'm drawing out my legs and my arms, I tend to draw them out straight and then rotate them into position. It isn't absolutely necessary. Again, this is just one of those very methodical, meticulous kinds of things that I do. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to set my action center to mouse. I'm going to rotate from the base of this bone to about the knee. And deselect that. Rotate so that the base of the foot is actually going to be falling right around this intersection here. And I'm going to go ahead and move that point up slightly. Let's go ahead, grab these 2 points, and select the stretch tool once again. So I'm going to line those up by moving my cursor down, and I'm going to go ahead and place those right about here. Drag that out just a little bit. Okay, looks fine to me so far. Good thing at this point probably is to go ahead and start naming some of these bones, especially before we start mirroring them. You can't really stress enough how important it is to name your bones. If you don't name your bones, you're going to find you're totally lost once you get into layout. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and select that and bring up my Rename Skeleton tool here. Call that pelvis, and start working my way up. I'm going to name this one Spine 1. Spine 3, and Spine 4, neck, head. Now over here, this is actually going to be our right hip. This will be our right up leg. This will be our right lower leg. Right foot. And last, right toes. And now I'm going to go ahead and bring up my skeleton tree just to verify that there are no extra bones in here, which sometimes you'll find happens. You'll get a bone drawn out of 0 length. And so that looks okay. None of those little pesky bones in there. Okay. What's next? Next thing we're going to do is actually we're going to draw out some special bones that are going to go on our leg here. And these bones are going to serve different purposes, which will become more apparent once we get into layout. So that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and bring up my draw skeleton bone, or draw skeleton tool, and I'm going to draw out one little bone here. And I'm going to select that bone, and I'm going to make a few copies of it. Actually, let me do this first, just to make sure that those points are lined up. Okay. I'm going to hit copy, and I'm going to select my move tool, move that, hit paste. I'm going to deselect, select again, and just repeat. Okay. I'm going to select this first bone that I created here and move over to my right viewport, get my move tool, and I'm going to move him right up to the point at which my hip joins the base of my right up leg. And I'm going to move that so he's right on it. Okay. Moving over and selecting another next bone. So let's select the next two bones. I'm going to move those so that they are located right at the joining point of the lower leg, right lower leg, and the right foot. Deselect that, and I'll select this last bone, and I'm going to move that up to the joining point of the upper leg and the lower leg. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and put my character mesh in the background. And I'm going to take this endpoint of this skeleton, and I'm going to move it out so that it's right at the point of the boundary point of my geometry. Like I said, these bones will serve different purposes, which will become more apparent as we're rigging. But just quickly, this bone up here is actually going to control knee placement in our rig. This bone is also for the knee, but it's actually strictly for deformation, so that when we are moving our leg around with our IK, we can actually use this bone to keep the knee kind of poking out a little bit, just to keep it a little more realistic. And these two bones here are more special in the sense that we're going to use one of the bones as an effector. In other words, that's where our IK, it's going to be, its goal is going to be our IK null, which is going to move our leg around. And the other one is going to be used to actually rotate the foot rather than using this bone. And there's a pretty good reason for that, which I'll talk about that later. Okay, now let's, as you can see, if we go over to the back viewport, we can see that all of these bones still need to be lined up into their respective places. So let's move them over slightly. And now I'm going to go into the perspective viewport, and I'm going to select, starting with the knee placement bone, select the two there, 2 points there, weld them together. Moving down, select those 2 points, weld them together, and then finally I'll select this point, weld it together there, and select that, weld those two together. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and grab my drag tool. I'm going to take one of these bones and I'm going to move it so that it's actually a little bit smaller than the bone that's right next to it. Let's go ahead and select all those points here and pop out back to our back viewport. Select the stretch tool and get them all in the same place. Moving up, same thing here. And when you do this, make sure that your action center is set to selection rather than mouse, otherwise you will be doing this all day long. Same thing here. Okay, let's go ahead and name these bones really quick. Selecting that top one there, which is located at between the hip and the up leg. I'm going to call that right knee. Moving down, call this one right knee cap. Moving down once again. Okay, this one, this is the larger of the two bones. This is going to be the right foot roll. Okay, I'm going to select the one inside. That's going to be our right leg effector, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to put my character mesh in the background once again, and I still have to line these guys up. I probably should have done that before. I lined them up in one viewport and I neglected to line them up in the other. So I'm going to set my action center to mouse. I'm going to rotate starting there from the base up like that. I think that'll work. And I'm going to want to go ahead and check these bones. Let me switch over here and I'm going to select all of this right here. And I'm going to hit my equal key. Oop. That's not what I want to do. I want to change that selection. Now I'm going to hit my equal key. So that's all I'm seeing. Let's go back to the other layer. And I'm going to do the same kind of thing right here. Hit the minus key to hide those. And the reason I'm going through all this is just because I want to make sure that the foot looks okay. Let me go ahead and just move that over ever so slightly. And I'm going to go ahead and select the toe bone and the foot bone here, but I'm not going to select these other two smaller bones. I'm going to rotate them just a little bit, like that. Okay. I'm going to unhide that. Switch over, unhide that. Okay, that is looking pretty darn good.